Hey everybody, I am Zach Turner. I am the creator of BloodRunes, and that's the game I'm going to show you how to play today really quick. Only takes about 10 minutes to explain this game. So you start out, have everything set up right now. We have 4 players. You can play 2 to 4 players. 4 players is really where it shines. I've got blue, yellow, red, green. Those are the colors of your clans that you're playing. You play the role of a rune caster, and these are runes. Ooh. These runes you will cast upon the shared board here and try to cast the spells that you have in front of you. And I'll go over a little bit more of that in a second. So to start out, everybody gets 5 runes. No one knows what those are. Everyone also gets 1 spell that is face up, everyone else can see. So I kind of know maybe what you're doing, but I don't know what runes you have that you're going to cast on this shared board here. The goal is to get the runes on the board to match the runes on your spell. So you can see here I've got a wealth and a cattle. Those are the actual Nordic runes for wealth and cattle. So if I were to play, for instance, wealth and cattle here in that configuration, then I could cast this spell as another action and I could gain some wealth. I can play those here or I can play them here, and you can play on top of runes that exist. I could not play that, for instance, like this off of the board. You can't do that. It also can't go this way. That would only work for this player. So orientation is very important in this game, how you're oriented. Now, the rotation of these doesn't matter. I can put them like this or however I want, so long as those spaces are the same spaces as are on the spell I'm trying to cast. That's the basics of casting spells. Now, for your turn, when you start out, you have 6 moves that you can choose from, and you have this handy dandy little cheat sheet that has all the different spells and all the different actions that you can do. So you can cast a rune onto the board. That's 1 action. So let's do that. I'm going to cast that rune onto the board. That's 1 action. Every time I take an action, I move my acolytes, and I start out with 3. You can have up to 6 in the game, and that tells me how many actions I can take per turn. So I can cast a rune, I can cast a spell. So let's say I have the rune configuration out here already. I can cast a spell, and then that just goes in the discard pile, and I get whatever that spell gives me. So in this case, I would get this fortune. Whee! Get that fortune, put it on my console here, and whoever gets to 6 fortunes first wins the game. So that's how you would cast a spell. You can draw a rune if you need more runes in your hand. You can draw from the rune river, which is over here. You can only draw the face up runes. You can't draw blind from the deck. So let's say I wanted another one of these. Then this immediately replaces that. I can draw from the spell river, which is here. Same story here. You can only draw the face up cards. I'm going to draw this guy, put it in front of me, and this gets replaced immediately. There we go. You can clear runes. If you don't like any of these out here, I can just clear all of these, put them in the discard pile, and then put 3 more out there. Same thing for the spells. I can clear all these, put them in the discard, and then put 3 more out. So that's your basics of how you do your turn. Now, for spells, let's talk about those. There's 4 different types of spells. There are green spells, and here's a variety of green spells here. These are your builder spells. So these will help you build your fortunes yourself or expand your acolytes. So you can recruit acolytes here. If I have a wealth and a wealth, I could gain another acolyte, which I would grab from the pool, and I would put on my board immediately, and I can use that right away that turn. So even if it takes all 3 of your turns to cast that, I immediately get this, and I can take another move with that last acolyte. Very handy. These guys, Fortunate Alliance, a Fortunate Raid, these are just 2 different ways to create more fortunes for yourself. When you cast those, you put the fortune on your console there. So those are your builder spells. That's very nice to have green spells to start off the game. Now the red spells, those are steals. So you can see we have steals that can target certain players. So if I have this in front of me, here in my little spell book, you can see the sword is pointing across. So it's pointing at the red player, which is over here. That means if I get this configuration, I get spears here. So let's say I got spears, and serpent, boop, just like that. And then I cast this spell, and the person across from me has fortunes. I can take that fortune from him, and that is now mine. And I have stolen a fortune from across the board. Same thing over here. This shows you how you can steal an acolyte. So now I'm targeting the green player, the player on my left. If I create a board that matches this spell and looks like that, then I can actually grab one of their acolytes and I can move him over to my console. Now, the green currently only has 3 acolytes. You can't have any less than 3 acolytes because you can't do anything. So if that is the case, then instead of grabbing from his console, his board, I can just take from the pool and I will put the green guy there. That means now he can only build up, he can only recruit 5 acolytes. After that, he's got to steal an acolyte from somebody else in order to get a full company of 6 acolytes. So that's why that is a pretty devastating card. Now, there are steals out there that have swords in all directions. That lets you target any player, not all players, but any player, and take a fortune from whoever you would like. So I'm going to take from yellow in this instance. Very difficult to cast. You can tell you have 4 runes that have to be in the proper configuration to cast that spell. Now, you've got steals out there. It'd be nice if you could protect yourself. That's what these blue spells are for. So these blue spells are ward spells, and they will help you protect the fortunes and the acolytes that you have collected. So you can tell this one, if once I cast it, instead of going in the discard pile, this one actually goes in your little protection ward. This is actually a Nordic symbol for protection. You put that right there, and now I am shielded from the green player, from the player on my right. He cannot steal my acolytes or steal my fortunes. I can still be attacked from these 2 players, but not from the player on my right. Now, if you have this one, this protects against all players, so you're basically invulnerable for the rest of the game unless someone casts a hex on your ward and discards that ward. And that's the last and 4th type of spell, which is these yellow spells. So these are your hex spells. There are 2 types of hex spells. There's a discard active ward. So let's say the green player wanted to play this card on my ward. This would then get discarded and I don't have it anymore. There's also the steel active ward. This is the most difficult ward. This is the most difficult card to cast in the game. And if someone were to cast it, they would actually steal that ward for themselves. So that is the 4 types of spells that you have in BloodRunes. A few strategy tips for playing BloodRunes. Look at other people's spell books and see what spells they have face up. You can kind of tell what they're going for. And even though you don't know what runes they have, you can try to block them on the board, and especially make sure you're not going to play something that's going to be beneficial to them based on the orientation of their spells. At the end of the game, whoever gets to 6 fortunes first immediately wins, and they are victorious, and their clan is the most fortunate. And that's how you play BloodRunes. For any questions, you have this handy dandy little boop instruction rule book. And thank you very much. Happy raiding.